Hey guys, today I'm filming a review on the Hard Candy Glamoflague Mix In Pigment Makeup Drops. These are supposed to be a drugstore alternative to the Cover FX custom cover drops. I've actually never tried the ones from Cover FX because they're very expensive, but Emily Noel 83 did do a video comparing the Cover FX and Hard Candy products. I will have that linked up here. Hard Candy is a brand that is exclusive to Walmart. You can purchase it from Walmart stores and also on Walmart.com. You get 0.5 fluid ounces in this product, which is half the amount of product you would get in a typical foundation. I don't mind that you are getting less because this is not a product you're going to use on its own. This is a product you're going to mix with other things. So I feel like this would actually last you just as long as a typical 1 fluid ounce foundation. This retails for $7 and it comes in 12 different shades. I think the shade selection is pretty good. They definitely have a lot of medium shades. They could do with a bit lighter and definitely darker shades, but I feel like 12 is pretty decent. And now I'm going to read you the claims from the Hard Candy website. It says, these highly concentrated liquid pigments allow you to customize any face product for coverage or shade. Squeeze the dropper and add drops to any daily moisturizer or primer to create a custom foundation. The more drops you add, the higher the coverage. You can also add light or dark drops to any liquid makeup to custom match your skin tone. So basically it's saying that this product will give you more coverage, and also depending on what shade you get, it will help to lighten or darken your foundation. So I want to show you guys the packaging. It does come in a glass bottle and it does have a little dropper. This is very similar to the Cover FX packaging. So you just twist off the top and you squeeze your dropper to get the product to come out. So first I want to talk about the product itself. This is a very, very thin consistency, if you guys can see that. I haven't had to actually squeeze the dropper. The product just falls right out. And because the consistency is so thin, you do have to be careful when pulling out or putting in the dropper. If you push against the side of the bottle, the product will start to leak out. I definitely have very messy packaging because that's what I did. I didn't realize how thin of a consistency it was, but I'm assuming that as you start to work down the bottle, you aren't going to have that problem. I'm thinking because it is so full is the reason that it's overflowing so easily, but this definitely can be a messy product, so you do need to be careful when using this. So I purchased this product because I've always wanted to try the Cover FX, but like I said, they're very, very expensive. And what I was hoping to get out of this product is that it would lighten my foundations as well as give it more coverage. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you probably have heard me talk about the Hard Candy Glamoflague foundation. I have the shade Porcelain, which is the lightest shade in this range, and this is my all-time favorite foundation mixer because it has a great consistency that's not too thin, not too thick, and it also is a fantastic, very, very fair yellow tone shade. And the consistency of this works with really runny foundations as well as really thick foundations. So this is absolutely amazing. So I was very curious to see how the mix-in drops would compare to these and if I feel like I would like them less, more, or the same. So I purchased the lightest shades in both of these ranges and I wanted to show you guys swatches of them so you can see how different they are. So here are the mix-in drops, and here is the Hard Candy Glamoflague foundation. As you can see, the mix-in drops are a lot darker and also way peachier, and the Porcelain foundation is very, very fair and it is yellow tone. This is basically a little bit darker than a white shade, so it is the perfect mixer for fair skin. Also, the drops are a lot thinner of a consistency, so as you can see in my hand, they don't give as much coverage as the actual foundation. The texture is also very different. The drops are a lot thinner, but they do dry down to be pretty matte. And the foundation is a lot thicker of a texture and it has more of a satiny finish that doesn't dry as quickly. So I really do wish that the drops came in a lighter shade. If the drops came in the exact same Porcelain shade, I actually might like this product a little bit more. So the lightest shade is definitely a bummer for me, but it does still work to help lighten foundations to make them work for my skin tone, but they aren't going to match as well because this is so peachy and my skin is very yellow. So I tried out those drops with 4 different foundations, each of these foundations varying in the amount of coverage they give as well as their consistency, and I wanted to see if these drops would work better or worse with a particular kind of foundation. So with most of these foundations, I wanted to see how the color and coverage would work, but I mostly wanted to customize the color for me and lighten it. But with the first foundation, the color is a perfect match, and I wanted to see if the drops would help give this foundation more coverage. And that would be the MakeUpForEver Ultra HD in the shade Y215. Matches me perfectly, but this foundation does have a light medium coverage, and it also has a texture that's pretty medium but leaning more towards the thick side. So with this combination, the mixing drops did lighten the shade. They did thin out the consistency, but they really did not give it any more coverage. Maybe a tiny bit, but nothing that was significant that I could really notice. Then I tried it with the Urban Decay All Nighter foundation. I have the shade 1.0, which is a bit too dark for me, so the drops did lighten the shade to make it match me. This foundation also has a pretty thick consistency, so it did thin it out. This foundation is also super full coverage on its own, and this did not really add to the coverage at all. The next foundation I tried would be the Kat Von D Lock-It Tattoo in the shade Light 45, which is about a shade too dark for me. This foundation has super duper full coverage, and it also has a very thick consistency, thicker than any of the other foundations that I have. So these drops did help to lighten the shade. They didn't really give any coverage, but it did thin out the consistency like it did with all the others. But I love this combination right here because this foundation is so thick it can be really hard to blend out. But when mixing it with the drops, it did thin out the consistency, so it's way easier to apply and blend out. So even though I don't have a ton of product left, for the entire time I am finishing up this foundation, I will be mixing it with these drops because it will help make the consistency just right for me. So this combination in particular I think is really amazing. And the last foundation I tried it with would be the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade 1W1 Bone, which is definitely a shade too dark for me. This foundation does give really nice medium buildable to full coverage, so I was a little bit nervous but very curious to see how these two products would mix together because they both have a very thin consistency. So it did lighten the shade, and it didn't really make the texture any runnier because it was already so thin, but it definitely was a very messy combination that I needed to be careful when applying, that I didn't get foundation all over the place, and I made sure to apply it very quickly. And with this foundation, I feel like it did give it a little bit more coverage, but nothing crazy, nothing really significant. So because of these two consistencies, I am definitely not going to be using the drops with this foundation in the future, and I'm going to continue using my holy grail combination, which would be the Hard Candy Glamoflague foundation with the Double Wear. Because this does have a nice medium consistency, not too thick, not too thin, it helps to thicken up the consistency of the Double Wear and also lightens the shade to make it the perfect, very fair yellow tone color for me. So this foundation combination is absolute holy grail for me. So if I had to recommend either the Glamoflague Mix In Drops or the Glamoflague foundation, I would recommend the Glamoflague foundation all day long. I feel like this foundation mixes well with any foundation because of the consistency. It is the perfect middle consistency, not too thin, not too thick. Also, the color is amazing, very fair and yellow tone. This mixes well with basically every foundation. So this one is my all-time favorite winner. This one is good, but it's not great. If you are looking for a product to give you more coverage, don't buy this. If you are looking for a product to help adjust the shade of your foundation, this would be good for that. So basically with every other foundation, I will be mixing in the Hard Candy Glamoflague foundation, but the one foundation that I will continue to use the mix-in drops with will be the Kat Von D Lock-It Tattoo. If you have a foundation in your collection that you feel like is way too thick and it's hard to work with, I would recommend these drops because it will lighten the shade, but it will also thin out the consistency so it's easier to work with. And like I said, I don't have a ton of this left, but for the entire remainder of the time I'm using this, I will be mixing it in with these drops. So these drops do have a purpose in my collection right now, but after I use these up, I will not repurchase them, but I will continue to repurchase the Hard Candy Glamoflage foundation for the rest of my days. So guys, that was my review on the Hard Candy Glamoflage Mix In Pigment Makeup Drops. I would love to know your thoughts if you guys have tried out this product. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.